Hey, everybody. Welcome. Oh my gosh. Happy Monday. It is time for a new week and another episode of Beautiful Demons. I'm so excited. How was your weekend? For those of you in the US, how was the 4th of July for you? We had a great one here. We basically I feel like ever since we had Andrew, we never really go out too often to see like fireworks and stuff like that anyway, because taking young kids. I think we did go once or twice to see fireworks and he didn't particularly love them. So we aren't used to doing that kind of stuff anyway. So I didn't feel like we missed out terribly much on not going out to do anything, but we did have some people in our neighborhood still let off a lot of fireworks. So we were able to kind of just walk outside. I turned up, we have this little like hatch. I think it's called the Hatch Rest. That's like a noise machine for Evie's bedroom. So once we put her down, we turned that up a little bit. So it was a little bit louder and she didn't wake up at all, even with all of the loud firecrackers and fireworks and stuff going off in the neighborhood. So that was good. But yeah, it was pretty relaxing. We made it through Iron Man 3, which was the next movie in our little Marvel universe. I think the next one for us is Thor, the Dark World or whatever. So that's the next movie on our list. And so far, we're really enjoying those when we have time. So, hey, Melissa, finally able to catch it live. Woo woo. Welcome, welcome. Happy Monday, everybody. Yes, happy Monday, Rana. Blueberry picking, that sounds really nice. DF Tech Writer says, went blueberry picking at my parents' place. That's nice to be able to do it at your parents' place. We had a blueberry picking place near us where I grew up in Hawkinsville, Georgia. And we went a few times and it was super fun. I really enjoyed it. We also had a lot of pecan trees, or as some people say in the South, pecan trees. And we would go often, like this was just right close to our house. We had a bunch of pecan groves and we would go and pick up pecans, and they belonged to all the land belonged to my uncle. So we would do that a lot as well. And I know I've told you guys this before, but we used to also have like a ton of blackberry bushes that would just be kind of like along the country roads where I grew up. And we would go blackberry picking all the time. We would get those 5-gallon buckets. Are they usually 5-gallon buckets? We get those big like buckets with the handle. Even as young kids, we were like carrying those around and we would get all the blackberries and we would come home with these huge buckets of blackberries. But sadly, a little girl reached her hand in and got bit by some rattlesnakes. And so afterwards they were like, we're tearing all of the city just basically came in, or the county came in, and they just like took away all the blackberry bushes. So it was definitely a sad event. And then a sad to lose the blackberry, but sadder event that someone lost their child. So it was, sad times, but I will never forget those days of blackberry picking with my family, because those were always really good times. And then we would have like blackberry jam and blackberry cobbler and all that kind of stuff. But yeah, rattlesnakes in the South in the woods are very serious concerns. I have actually killed a few rattlesnakes in my life. We used to go, it's made me sound so country, but we used to go around in the woods like all the time. Basically, my brother and I were in the woods pretty much our entire childhood. And so we knew how to like take a golf club with us when we would go, and you could, and so on. But yeah, you could avoid them if you wanted to. We had close relationships with snakes. So I don't know how it turned into this conversation. I didn't intend to talk about snakes. But anyway, happy birthday to Emmy's son. Son's birthday. Yay. Congratulations. So let's see. We are on episode 7 of Beautiful Demons. So episode 7, episode 8 will be on Wednesday, and then Friday will be another coffee chat. And then next week, Monday, Wednesday, Friday, we will do the final 3 episodes of of Beautiful Demons. So I'm really looking forward to it. I saw some of the comments, like Steph said, slapping a snake with a golf club is one of the most Georgia things. I know as I'm saying, I'm like, why am I saying that on a live video? I don't know. When you grow up in the woods, you just got to, do what you got to do to continue on as it is. Copperheads and rattlesnakes. Oh, West Virginia. Yeah, it's tough when you think about snakes, but you kind of grow up learning when you're in the woods a lot. You kind of grow up learning the warning signs and what to look for and that sort of thing. So hopefully that kind of helped us out. I made it. I survived my childhood, so that's fine. But yeah, I wasn't planning on talking about that. Debbie said, what about those boxes over your shoulder? So I thought they were supposed to be here. Amazon delivery said they would be here, I think, on Monday. So we were thinking, oh, we'll get them on Monday. But we got the boxes of The Witch's Key yesterday. So we actually have been house hunting, and I went out yesterday to just go walk down the street to look at this house that had an open house. And I was like, I'm going to walk down there, even though it's 100-degree heat, just to get out of the house. And it was super hot, but I stumbled upon a really fun surprise because I had 4 boxes of books. So these 4 boxes are completely filled with The Witch's Key. And they turned out so beautiful. They look so good. The quality of them turned out really nice. So you can kind of see the front, back, sides, etc. of the books. And yeah, I have never done this before. So even when I did book signings, I never ordered this many books, because usually when I would go to book signings, like I think I've mentioned this before, it would be so many like sexy romance authors that was the readers that usually came to the book signing. So I would maybe sell like 20 to 40 copies of my books. And very rarely did I ever buy, more than like 40 or 50 copies. I don't even think that many. So I was like, oh my gosh, this is really fun and really exciting to get so many copies of The Witch's Key, and they turned out great. The inside looks really good. They feel good in your hand. Just to show you kind of a little bit of the interior and how it looks. And here's like just a regular page with my name on it. They just turned out so good. I cannot wait to get these signed. So I'm trying to decide if I want to. I know that I'm not going to be able to have time to just sit down and sign 130 paperbacks in terms of, like one shot, because that would take me too long. Plus I have book plates to sign and stuff too. Those have not come in yet. So I think probably what I'll do is, because some people were interested in live signings, like maybe coffee chatting and signing. I'm afraid that if I do that too much, like I have watched Brandon Sanderson do this, but he's not signing anything like to so-and-so. He's just like scribbling his name and talking and scribbling his name and talking. Plus he's got somebody there moderating a little bit. So it's like, I don't know that I could actually like thoughtfully sign like to so-and-so. Thank you so much for being blah, 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 because that, I think my brain will just explode trying to do all of that. So I think for this round, I'm not going to do a bunch of like live signings, because I think otherwise it would just be me sitting here signing books and not talking because I think that I just can't manage it emotionally and like mentally to be doing so many things at once. So I think that for my own sanity for this round, I'm just going to sign them privately. Maybe I'll do a few little like lives in the Coven rather than YouTube lives. So definitely come join us in the Coven. There is a link in the description box below if you have not joined us yet, which you need to. It's just really like facebook.com/group/Sarah Cannon's Coven. And come join us. And maybe I'll do a few lives like while I'm signing stuff. But for the most part, I'm just going to sign them and send them, but I might do a few, like I'll probably do a vlog of it and some other things like that. But I probably will sign maybe like 30 or 40 at a time. We'll kind of see how my hand holds up. And yeah, it'll be super fun. I'm really, really excited to do this because this is a new thing for me. And like I said, I wasn't sure when I offered them for signing if I would get like 20 people would buy them or, whatever, but I definitely wasn't expecting like over 100. So you guys blew me away. Thank you so much. I know that I've been getting some questions like, can I still order one? And unfortunately, I'm not going to be able to just offer like another round of orders because it just takes up too much time to do all of the stuff. So I think probably right now what I'm thinking I'll do, I do have extras. I ordered extras because if you're going to order them and have them shipped, you might as well get some extras. When we start reading The Witch's Key 2, which is going to be called probably The Witch's Door, I will probably do some giveaways that will be signed. Other than that, probably what you'll need to do if you didn't get one is to go ahead and purchase one from either Amazon.com or BarnesandNoble.com, have it shipped to your own house. And then when we get the book plates in, maybe I'll run another round of signed book plates where I can sign some book plates to you and then I can get those out. But I think that packaging this, I don't know. I think it'll probably just end up being, if we do this again, there will be a short window just like we did, and you either get them or you don't. And so look out for it. If it's something that you know you want to get, like a copy of The Witch's Door, and you want to get, you know, if we offer Beautiful Demons or whatever else, just make sure that you're paying attention so that you get in on the window, because otherwise I think continuing it and trying to keep up with signing and ordering and all of that stuff would take too much time unless I were to hire help, which right now is just, even just finding someone to help would be stressful. So I think that I'm not going to offer probably any more orders, but what you will be able to do if you buy your own paperback through Amazon or Barnes & Noble is when the book plates come in, I will, after all of this other stuff is done, I will sign a bunch of them. They won't be personally signed, so it won't say to you personally, but it'll just be my signature. And I will sign a bunch of those and send them to Christabel with a bunch of like envelopes and packing stuff and maybe bookmarks. And then she will send that stuff out to you. And that will be just something free that I will offer to anyone who has either purchased a paperback or just wants a signature to put on something else, which is fine too. So that will be kind of how it goes, because it is, yeah, it's a lot of work to package, to get all the packaging, to get all the addresses correct, to sign everything. And, you know, it's a lot of work, but it's super fun and I'm happy to do it. I just, you know, only I'm going to offer it for a short window. And then once the pre-orders are done, we'll continue on. And in the future, if it gets bigger where it's like 200 people are ordering, I might have to put a limit on how many I'll order at a time, but we'll just play it by ear. So paperbacks, that was the first thing on my note to talk about. So yeah, it'll be good. So then the next thing is reminding you guys that, yes, so we are on this week and then next week, and Beautiful Demons is over. So that means, I don't have a calendar in front of me, but that means the week after next will be a week off. So I'm just not going to do any lives that week. I'm going to focus on finishing up Fate's Surrender, hopefully, and spending time with family, maybe, you know, spending some time outside in the sun and reading books or doing something else. And I'm just going to kind of take a week off from social media that week, which I feel like is much needed. Then the week after that, we will start reading Inner Demons, which is the second book in my Shadow Demon saga. So that'll be a lot of fun. It'll take us about the same amount of time that it has taken us to read Beautiful Demons, but maybe like a week longer. So 6 weeks or so. We'll have to wait and see kind of how it works out. But hopefully my plan as it is right now is to finish reading Beautiful Demons, take a week, read all of Inner Demons, and then hopefully by then we'll have Fate's Surrender coming out, and then we'll just play it by ear, you know, continuing on. George said, if you see her post anywhere, tell her to stop. So I'll let you guys know when it's my week off of social media. I won't be taking a week off from working because I want to be writing. But, you know, I saw Laura ask, did you start Song of Blood and Stone? So one of my challenges for the month of July is, well, I do it every month, is a notebook challenge to read a bunch of, or to use a bunch of your like notebooks. If you like have a bunch of notebooks that you've bought that you've never used, which is something that a lot of people do, not just me, George, I promise it's not just me. I got in the habit for years of buying beautiful notebooks or notebooks that I loved, and then I didn't use them because I would be like, this is too beautiful. I don't want to use it. So a year and a half ago or so, I pulled out my notebooks to do a notebook on Heart Breathing's channel about my notebook collection and realized that I had over 100 unused notebooks, which is slightly ridiculous. And that was the culmination of like 10 years of buying notebooks and not using them, and then just using like pieces of them or, lots of things like that. So at that point, what I decided to do was a monthly notebook challenge where I use up notebooks, but I also give away a notebook every month. And I've been doing that for 18 months or so. And now I have also added onto that a diverse reading challenge to challenge people to pick up books that maybe you normally wouldn't have picked up that are specifically by people of color or by Black authors or LGBTQ authors. And the reason behind that, as many of you might know, is that it's not just like, of course, we want to read books that we love and enjoy, regardless of the race or color of the person writing them. However, if you understand how Amazon algorithms work, and if you're interested in learning more about that, you could go to my channel and kind of read some of that. A lot of the books by more like diverse or marginalized authors are actually just not shown. Plus, in traditional publishing, a lot of publishers just don't buy books by people of color because they say they don't sell as well, or, just many things like that. So I thought it would be kind of fun to pull some books that maybe you wouldn't normally read or that you hadn't been aware of, and start pulling those out and really showing them, on my channel and encouraging people to read more diverse books. And so I picked a book called Song of Blood and Stone by Elle Penelope. She is actually a follower on my Heart Breathing's channel, and I've wanted to read this fantasy novel for so long. She has a whole series of these books. There's 3 of them, and the 4th one I think is coming out soon, or the 3rd one. I think the 3rd one is coming out soon, and she just revealed the cover for the 4th one. But they look amazing, and I have not. Long story short, I have not started it yet because I've been waiting for a little bit of free time. So hopefully, my hope is during that week that I take off to just do my writing, and then maybe in the evenings, like read that book. Another book I am wanting to read that I purchased is a book called Bright by my friend Ennis Johnson. And I'm excited about that one. It's a new adult paranormal romance. So because I wanted to do one trad pub author and an indie author. So I'm really excited about those books, but I just haven't had time to read them. So I am going to take some time off to do it. I also reserved, have you guys read any Ruth Ware? So not a diverse author. I think she's just a white woman who writes mostly standalone, like psychological, twisty thriller mystery type stories. And I read her book In a Dark, Dark Wood a few years back, and I thought, ooh, this is kind of like Christopher Pike books that I loved, but for adults, which if you know me, man, this is like something I could totally get into. So I absolutely loved In a Dark, Dark Wood. I guessed the ending, so she didn't totally get me on the ending, but I just loved her writing, and I thought it was an easy, fun read that had some good twists in it. So I also picked up from the Libby app on my Kindle or on my phone to send to Kindle. If you're not familiar with that, that's a library app that you can send things to your book or to your Kindle. And so now I'm remembering, is it Turn of the Key? Diane, are you the one who recommended that to me? I think one of her other books, The Turn of the Key, is that what it's called? But I put it on reserve at the library, and it told me that it's ready to deliver it, but I don't have time to read it, and I want to read Song of Blood and Stone first. So I told it to deliver it to me in 2 weeks. So I'm excited for that as well. Laura says, I loved it. Amanda asked, being an author, are you a fast reader? I think I'm a pretty fast reader. Yes, I would say I'm a pretty fast reader, but sometimes I also think that I get too much into the story and then I want to go back and read sections if the writer is really, really good. So that kind of distracts me a little bit, I would say. Oh no, Laura said I couldn't finish the woman in Cabin 10. I no longer wanted the protagonist to live. Well, that's not a glowing review, unfortunately. Turn of the Key. Yes, I think, Diane, you were the one who recommended that to me, and so I'm excited to read it. Diane, you'll have to let me know if you did stick with dark places or not. We'll talk about that in a minute. Okay, so we are going to read episode 7 of Beautiful Demons. I am super, super excited about that. If you guys want to continue sharing stories or books that you love in the chat, please go ahead and do so. So recap quickly of what happened last week is we all know Tori Fairchild, she died and her body was somehow burned from the inside because of Harper's past with fire. And now we know she had a fire with her adoptive parents and her adoptive father died. And then they gave her back up to the foster care system at that point. She gets accused of being the one who killed Tori because of her necklace. Tori was clutching Harper's necklace. So then we find out that all of a sudden the mayor comes in and is basically like, you're free to go. So Harper goes and talks to Jackson, who tells her, oh, there's this room full of flames that you need to be worried about. I can kind of see the future. And then she isn't sure what to make of that. But when she gets back into the house, she goes and talks to Mrs. Shadowford to make sure she's not getting kicked out and sent to juvie. And Mrs. Shadowford has her take a drink from a teacup, and the water kind of smells like rose water, but Harper thinks nothing of it at first. But when she goes back into her room, she suddenly feels a little bit off and then passes out. And in her sort of strange drugged haze, she has a strange dream, she thinks, about women in a room chanting, someone cutting her with a knife on her hand, and they say something about the Prima has returned. But she thinks this is all a crazy dream, except that when she finally does wake up, she's been out for several days with what they're saying is the flu, and she does have a cut on her hand. So now we are moving on to chapter 23, Claire. I spent the rest of the weekend in bed. On the following Monday, the other girls were at school during the day, and Ella May had stuff to do around the house, so I stayed in my room or went downstairs to play games on the laptop. My body slowly recovered from the illness. With each day, I could feel my strength returning. By day 3, I was bored out of my mind. I started to roam around the mansion, looking at what books they had on the shelves and what paintings were on the walls. Since I had first come to Shadowford, I hadn't spent much time looking around and really paying attention to the house itself. It was by far the most beautiful place I had ever lived, and it was huge. The first floor was pretty boring as far as exploration goes. Since I wasn't allowed into Mrs. Shadowford's suite of rooms, that left the same old rooms we all moved around in every day. I glanced up the narrow staircase leading to the 3rd floor and bit my lip. Ella May had told me not to go up there, but she was all the way downstairs and no one was home. I stepped gingerly onto the staircase and made my way up to the door. One of the stairs near the top creaked and I froze, waiting to see if Ella May would call out to me. When she didn't, I kept going. At the top, I pushed open the painted blue door and glanced inside. There was only a single room up there, and it was full of old boxes. Why would they care if anyone came up here? Not finding any big secret, I went back downstairs. The 2nd floor was more interesting. In addition to the 4 bedrooms us girls stayed in, there were 4 other empty bedrooms. In the first empty room, I didn't find anything of interest. Dust. That was pretty much it. But the 2nd room was a different story. At first, it seemed like the other, dusty and ancient. The floral bedspread was perfectly made up. The windows were shut tight. But when I sat down on the bed, I felt the sudden urge to look under it. I got down on my hands and knees. When I lifted the bed skirt, little dust bunnies fluttered through the air and I coughed. "You okay, Miss Harper?" Ella May called up. Man, how did she even hear me from down there? Yes, ma'am, I said back. It was still a struggle to raise my voice too much. I lifted the bed skirt again and peered under the bed. A sliver of light shone through from the other side, and there, near the wall, I saw something. A small box, maybe? In order to get to it, I had to practically crawl underneath the bed. If anyone had walked into the room, they would have only seen the bottom half of my body sticking out. I stretched my arm and reached forward, finally grasping the elusive object. Not a box, a picture frame. A small silver double frame with a hinge that let it open and close. I sat on the hardwood floor covered in dust and opened the frame. On one side, a young woman with long brown hair piled on top of her head in a complicated twist of knots and braids. It was an old picture, so old that the color had long faded into browns and tans. The woman looked vaguely familiar, but that was sort of impossible, wasn't it? In the second frame was a much newer picture of a group of girls in cheerleading uniforms. The uniforms were different from the kind the cheerleaders wore now, but they were still the same blue and black demon colors. I studied the faces of the girls, then gasped. The one in the middle, the tall girl with blonde wavy hair, was my mother. I was sure of it. My heartbeat raced. How was this possible? I couldn't wrap my mind around it. I stood and moved to the window, wanting to get a better look in the light. Harper? Ella Mae's voice at the bottom of the stairs. Shit. There was no clear and fast rule about coming into these deserted rooms, but intuition told me they wouldn't want me in here, not if they knew this picture had been left behind. I shoved the bulky frame into the waistband of my sweatpants and quickly made my way to the top of the stairs. Yes? Are you all right? I thought I heard you coughing. Do you need anything? I shook my head. No, I'm fine. Just had an itch in my throat. You look a little bit flushed, she said. Her hand gripped the banister like she was about to come upstairs and check on me, but I didn't want her up here. I needed more time to look around. Plus, I didn't want her to find the picture frame. Really, I'm fine. I just heard you calling and ran out here too fast. I'll just go lay down for a bit. She hesitated, then looked back toward the kitchen. No doubt she still had a lot of work to do before the others got home from school. All right, but you call down if you need anything. I will, I said. Back in my own room, I sat on my bed and took out the small frame. Carefully, I took it apart, separating the black velvet backing from the frame. The pictures were stuck to the glass inside, so I had to be very gentle with them. After a little bit of prodding, they both finally came loose. On the back of the first picture, I could barely make out the handwritten words, probably a name and date, but it was too smudged and faded to see. The picture of the cheerleaders was much clearer. In neat print, it read, Danica, Julie, Claire, Maisie, and Audrey. The date was almost exactly 20 years ago. I turned it over in my hand and studied the faces again. A young black girl with a wide, shining smile. Sheriff Hollingsworth? Next to her was an Asian girl that looked exactly like Lark Chen. Her mother, maybe. That would put her at about the right age. The other three girls looked similar. White girls with blonde hair of varying lengths, but I knew the girl in the middle. Her smile beamed up at me from the photograph like a greeting from the grave. Claire. Knowing her name made my heart long for her. But how was this possible? My mother had lived here in Peachville? Even if I believed in coincidence, this was way beyond that. What were the chances of me finding a picture of my mother here in a group home in Peachville, Georgia? My gut told me it had nothing at all to do with chance. Chapter 24, Not Anymore. The following morning, Ella Mae pronounced me well enough to go back to school. To tell the truth, I was dreading it. Even though being at home had been kind of boring, I had no idea what to expect from the people at school. Agnes told me that no one believed I was responsible for what happened to Tori, which was a relief, but at the same time, everyone knew I had been questioned. So far, Tori's killer was still out there, and some people were bound to suspect me just because I'd been brought in. Something tugged at the back of my mind. Why had they brought me in for questioning? There had to be something linking me to that crime, but I couldn't for the life of me remember what. When I asked Ella May about it, she said the fever must have caused some temporary memory loss. Apparently, the doctor told her it was a possible side effect. The trouble was, I didn't remember seeing any doctors. I hated this feeling of constant forgetfulness. I had an idea about my life since I first came to Shadowford, but when I tried to recall conversations and specific events, everything got confusing. You coming? Agnes stood outside the Shadowford van and waved me out. The ride to school had seemed short. My mind must have been wandering again. I was doing that a lot lately. I walked toward the school with Agnes, pausing only for a moment to look up at the large stone demon statue. I remembered passing out by the statue my first day of school, and there was more, wasn't there? Some other connection to this statue that I couldn't quite place? Are you sure you're okay to be back already? Agnes said. You seem kind of out of it. I shook my head slightly. I'm fine, just having a hard time remembering stuff, you know? Well, hopefully you'll remember all the stuff you learned before you were out sick. I think you've got a calculus test today. I groaned and followed Agnes into the building. For the most part, people were more polite than I expected. Sure, there were the whispers and some extra long glances in my direction, but no one yelled at me or called me a murderer or anything obvious. The part of the day I'd been dreading, however, was lunch. When the lunch bell rang, I felt a twist in my stomach. The cheerleaders. I didn't want to face them. What if they all blamed me for what happened to Tori? I went through the line, then took the empty seat next to Agnes. I barely listened to the conversation around me, keeping my eye on the center table. I knew when they'd arrived. Everyone at the table turned to look, their stares lingering for a moment longer than you'd expect. That was the way it was with everyone when the cheerleaders walked into the room. It was like you couldn't take your eyes off them. I set my burger down on the plate untouched. I couldn't eat anything. My stomach was in knots. I risked a look back and saw the three friends walking together toward their table. Brooke stopped mid-stride and looked straight at me. My mouth opened and I sucked in a gulp of air. I wanted to look away, but I froze instead. Brooke turned to Lark and whispered something in her ear. Lark glanced my way, then motioned to Allison. All three of them were staring straight at me. I forced my gaze away. Oh my God, they're coming over, Agnes whispered. My eyes widened and all my muscles tensed. Harper Madison, Brooke said. She was standing near my chair, so close the edge of her sweater brushed against my arm. Yes? I took a deep breath and waited for the insults, the anger, the accusations. We need to talk, Lark said. To my surprise, she reached over and grabbed my lunch tray. She started walking toward the center table with her friends, then turned back to me. Come on. I shared a confused look with Agnes, then shrugged. I guess I'll be back, I told her. Agnes looked from me to the group of cheerleaders. Fine, she said, crossing her arms in front of her. Just go. Was she mad at me? Did she think they were asking me over there so they could be my friends? No way. These people were probably going to fillet me and eat me for lunch. I started to explain it to her, but she had already turned away from me. Screw it. I had enough to worry about. I grabbed my backpack and headed over to the popular table. Drake and Foster were already sitting down. I glanced at Drake, expecting him to ignore me as usual, but instead he stood up and pulled out a chair for me. Thanks, I muttered. Maybe he was building me up so he could knock me down again. I sat. Lark put my tray down and smiled. You know, you don't have to eat this crap if you don't want to. Small talk? I was so confused. I don't really like to get up early and make my own lunch, I said. It's easier to just get food here, I guess. Oh, I just mean that if you wanted, I could have my cook make something for you too, she said. Her mom's got a private chef at the mayor's mansion, Allison said. The food is amazing. Had I accidentally stepped through some portal to an alternate dimension? What was going on here? Another boy from the football team came over carrying a bunch of paper bags. Hey, he said. He smiled at me, then pulled out a plastic container. Who had the turkey? Me, Allison said, reaching for it. Harper, have you met the boys? This is Jerry, then Foster there in the white shirt, and Drake in the blue. She knows me, Drake said. He raised his eyebrows at me, then smiled. I half smiled, confused as hell. I wondered if they were working to make me feel comfortable so they could later embarrass me in front of everyone, or what? Jerry passed out the rest of the food, and everyone sat down to eat. So, Harper, we heard you've been real sick, Brooke said. How's your first day back at school? We're so psyched to have you back, Lark said. My mom was telling me about the whole interview thing at the police station. I can't imagine how horrible that must have been for you. She was so angry the police brought you in like that. What whole interview thing? I didn't want to admit I had no idea what she was talking about. Yeah, that was crazy, Brooke said. Everyone knows you barely even knew Tori. Why would you know anything about what happened to her? Exactly, Allison said. Totally ridiculous. I had no idea how to respond, so I sat quietly. What are your plans for this weekend, Harper? Brooke looked at me expectantly. The question threw me a bit. Why did she care? I guess I'm just hanging around Shadowford as usual, I said. Nothing too exciting. Are you planning to go to the game? Drake said. I guess. I think Shadowford girls always go. When I first came to PHS, the people at this table were making fun of me for being a so-called Shadowford freak. Now, however, they let the reference pass without a comment, as if it didn't bother them at all. Sweet, Lark said, but don't sit with those girls, okay? Come and sit in our section. I nearly choked on my water. Why are you guys being so nice to me? The table grew quiet and everyone stared at me like they had no idea what I was talking about. Why wouldn't we be nice? Just a few weeks ago, you were making fun of me right here at this table, I said. I couldn't take it anymore. Being silent just wasn't my style. I had to know the truth. So why are you being nice to me now? Because if you're just waiting for the right opportunity to make a fool out of me, I can just walk away right now. I sounded a lot angrier than I intended. On the table, my fork rattled slightly on my tray. I slammed my hand over it to still the sound. Lark was the first to speak. I know we were totally rude that first week you were here. Tori could be kind of, well, bossy. She was upset with you over that whole catch-up incident. But now that Tori's gone, we all realize just how important it is to make up for the mistakes we've made. So that's all I was to them? A mistake they'd made? And why weren't they more upset about Tori's death? They were acting like it was ancient history. I didn't know what kind of games they were playing, but I didn't want any part of it. I stood up, practically knocking my chair over backward. I need to get to class, I said. Thanks for the offer, but I'll just sit with Agnes tomorrow at the game if I decide to go. I took off before they had a chance to say anything else. Being nice to me was just their way of clearing their group conscience for being mean to me that first week, but how long was it really going to last? A couple of days? Then I'd go back to being the Shadowford reject that didn't deserve the time of day from any of them. Well, I didn't feel like being their little project of the week. Harper, hold up. I turned to see Drake striding toward me. I stood in the doorway, and when he caught up to me, I stepped through to the courtyard. He walked beside me as I headed toward my next class. What happened back there? I thought you'd be happy, he said. Happy that you guys are showing me charity? I asked. No thanks. Whoa, what makes you think it's charity? I think things got off on the wrong foot between us, that's all. We were hoping to make some changes, extend the invitation for you to hang out or something. I stopped and turned to him. You have to try to understand where I'm coming from here, Drake. You guys were all really mean to me my first week here. Then I get practically arrested and can't even remember why. And now, after being out sick with a terrible fever for a full week, I come back to find that you all are acting completely different toward me. How am I supposed to react? Eternally grateful that you're all descending from your thrones long enough to converse with a lowlife like me? He put his palm on my cheek. I backed away, surprised, but he stepped forward and ran his fingertip along my chin line. I was a real jerk to treat you like that, he said softly. I understand if you want nothing to do with me, but I'm willing to do anything it takes to convince you that I'm sincere. I swallowed hard. Was I overreacting? That first day we met in my sister's store, I thought you were beautiful, he said. He took my hand in his and caressed the side of my index finger with his thumb. I was wrong to judge you for where you lived. But I don't care about any of that anymore. After Tori died, we realized that life's too precious to judge people on stupid things like where they live or who their parents are. We all really felt bad about how we treated you. But it's more than that. What do you mean? My face tingled where his finger had been. There's just something about you, he said. You're different from everyone else. We can all feel it. You're special, Harper. Did he mean that? No one had ever spoken to me so warmly. It made my insides flutter. Harper! I turned to see who had called my name. A guy with the clearest green eyes and brown spiky hair was staring at me and Drake. I felt that familiar tickle at the back of my brain. I knew this guy from somewhere, but I couldn't remember his name. What do you want, Jackson? Drake asked. I wasn't talking to you, Ashworth. Jackson. It didn't ring a bell, but he obviously knew who I was. Do I know you? I asked. His face went pale. He looked from me to Drake and back again. His gaze went distant for a moment and his shoulders slumped slightly. Not really, he said. Not anymore. A sadness came over me that I didn't quite understand. Something in that guy's eyes had seemed so familiar, like I'd known him in another life. Loser, Drake mumbled, then turned his attention back to me. So what do you say? Please come to the game and sit in the reserved section, then come out with us after? What the hell? I nodded. Sure, I said, why not? I suddenly felt as though I had nothing more to lose. Not Jackson! Don't give up, Jackson! Okay, so now we know from this strange interaction and everything that's going on with Harper that something in the water and her experience here has definitely messed with her memories. And so obviously she's struggling. And, when we talk about her character arc and things like that, Harper is somebody who obviously has been through a lot in her life and really has never had anyone that loved her unconditionally or really loved her at all that she knows. And so to be suddenly welcomed into this group is really confusing for her. But at the same time, isn't this what she's always wanted? So we'll have to wait and see what her reactions are to this and kind of what happens next. Now, obviously, those of you that know what happened, it's like, okay, we know where this is going. But there are a lot of people watching who have not seen this before or read this before. So, it's fun. Like, I wish I could turn back time to where all of you could be experiencing this for the first time. Laura, he needs to take off his shirt and then she'll recognize it. Oh, that's a good comment. Um, drank bottled water, Harper. Oh, I love that, Amanda. That's so true. It is a sad part. It is a sad part. There's several people that have not read this, so make sure there's no spoilers when you're talking about it. But that is takes us up to chapter 25 and no, chapter 24, and then we'll be starting on chapter 25 coming up. So Wednesday, you will find out a little bit more, and Harper will be going to another Demons football game and so on. So we'll continue on from there. But hopefully you guys, this is 50 kinds of messed up. Hopefully you guys enjoyed that chapter this week, and we're getting closer towards, we've passed the midpoint of the novel, and we're getting closer towards into the second act and towards the black moment, which will come next week. So lots of fun stuff there. So who will he take his shirt off for now? all the ladies are waiting for Jackson to take his shirt off because he's always inexplicably shirtless, which I loved that t-shirt idea. We need to do that. But it's really fun. And of course, we also have this mysterious picture of someone who looks an awful lot like Harper and her, who she knows to be her mother. So how is that possible? How did she end up here in this place that just coincidentally happens to also be a town where her mother lived? So obviously there's more going on in this town, and there are more secrets than you could possibly know. So lots of fun things happening in the story. So we will continue on with episode 8 on Wednesday, and then next week will be the finale stuff. And I'm kind of planning some fun stuff for the finale, even though it's a book that, unlike with The Witch's Key, where nobody had heard the ending, it'll still be hopefully fun for you guys to hear the ending stuff next week. So I thought it would be fun to still do a few little event stuff. So I'll let you know a little bit more about that on Wednesday. We won't go too crazy because I want to save some of the things that I was going to do for the actual Shadow Demons read along, which will be coming up later this year. So we'll kind of keep kind of going on until we get to that point. So that's super fun. I think that Evie is awake. Dun, 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 dun. Here she comes. Hi. You want to come say hi? Yeah. She got a little pink shirt on today. I'm going to take my ring off so I don't hurt her. Did you have a good nap? Did you have a good nap? You say hi to everybody? Say hi. Hi. I love that little smile. Hi, everybody. Andrew had karate camp this morning, so it was really his first time going like out of the house without us for a long, long time since school was out. You want to play with my book? That's somebody else's book. Somebody else is going to get that book. So he had karate camp today for four hours, and he really, really enjoyed it. They had to wear masks, of course, the whole time, and he had his hand sanitizer, and he took his luncheon with him and stuff, and he said he had a really good time. So he'll be having that camp this week, and then for the next 2 weeks, he'll have camp at his school. So Andrew's going to be busy over the next few weeks, so we'll just have some time with Evie. Dun, 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 dun. You want to laugh? You going to give everybody a laugh? Dee, 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 dee. Say yay. Yay. Blank stare. She just won't do it. So, oh my gosh, LA said both my husband and I are black belts. I have never taken karate, so I know nothing about that. Gemma said, I'm waiting for the day when George passes her over and she just shouts out, hi. It's going to happen. It'll happen. It'll happen. Oh, what was that face? What was that face? What was that face? She's just been such a sweet girl. Oh, this is the only problem, is that she's into everything. And then she gets mad that you won't let her into it. You want this? And then you're just going to put it in your mouth. I know you. I know you. I don't know if I can get her to laugh again. She's really ticklish right here. I got you. All right, you guys. I hope that you've had a really good time. We're going to end it just a little bit earlier today because I've got to go get dinner ready. I have officially been on Brightline, and like I can feel myself like stumbling over words a little bit today more than normal. And I think that that's just all part of the sugar detox. So excuse me if I had a few like blah, blah, blahs. I even missed my place at one point in the reading, but on a good note, I am down already 3.5 pounds. So that's a good start to Brightline, and it's feeling good. I just know that you go through like a period of detox from sugar and flour. So I am feeling it today. I have been feeling it all day. I actually didn't even put on any makeup or anything until like 20 minutes ago because I was like, okay, I need to look presentable for my YouTube family over here. So yeah, I feel like my brain isn't firing 100% on all cylinders, but it will be. I know that from experience that after I go through this period, usually lasts about a week or two, I will actually have, there we go, right in her mouth. You can't eat paper. I will actually have more like clarity of mind, but it just takes a little bit of time to go through the detox phase of it. And today I have been having the worst cravings. Like just all I want is to eat bad foods. So I'm really like struggling through it today, but I'm going to continue on. I've got my like water in a cup and I'm hanging in there, but we're making George is making sausage, broccoli, and then he's making mac and cheese for he and Andrew, but I will not be eating the mac and cheese. I will just have an extra salad today. But anyway, I'm excited for the signings. Thank you guys, everybody who ordered a paperback copy. Thank you too to everybody who has been super patient with the giveaway stuff. I need to give away today's pages too, because I have not mailed out anything. And I think I have like 5 or 6 packages waiting for me at my PO box. And I just have not gotten out of the house. It has been really, really tough to do it. So I apologize that it's taking so long to send things out. Just please be like, patient. I'm doing my best. But let's give away these pages that I read today from episode 7. I'm going to write it down. Okay, so Renee said, I want pages, and she was the first comment I saw. So Renee, I will send these to you, and just send me your address via email. So you can send it to my Heart Breathings email or my Sarah Cannon email. So are those teeth coming in on that other side? So she has 3 teeth on top now and 2 on the bottom. Oh, very patient Christabel, who's been waiting for a year for her book. So Christabel, I'm making a promise to you that I will send your books. I will sign your books first. And then I will sign everybody else's. So I will get yours out. And of course, I have a Witch's Key one for you too. I'm also currently in the process. It should be very, very soon that you guys will see paperbacks of Death's Awakening and Sorrow's Gift, and the new covers show up on the website. So that stuff will be coming too. And Christabel, I'm not going to wait for those to come in. I will just send you those separately. Yeah, Amanda, I think I saw your email. I just have not sent it out yet. So I promise I will do it. All right. I'm just making a note that we have episode 7 goes to Renee. So thank you guys so much for showing up. I appreciate it that you guys are here every time. Please hit the thumbs up button if you get a chance before you head out. I have been scheduling these ahead of time. So when we're up here, I will post the link in the coven. Where are you trying to go? Where are you trying to go? You don't know. I will post a link in the coven for anybody watching a replay, and I will go ahead and schedule Wednesday's episode 8. Oh my gosh, I can't believe we're almost done with this book. How has time flown by so fast? Oh my gosh, it's so crazy. So it's July. Also, George's birthday is coming up on Saturday. So this is a good week. We're celebrating birthdays all around. So, all right, guys, thank you so much for being here. I love you so much, and I will see you on Wednesday. All right. Bye.